Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman, different co-host today. Steve Merril joining us. Very excited. We got a great show lined up. Andy Lang to start right off the bat. He's got a prop bet for tonight's NBA game, as well as a prop bet for the Tigers-Blue Jays game. After that, Gianni the Greek joining us. 2 baseball bets, and we're going to end the show with our DiCesare. I want to apologize to all my clients. I had a disaster night last night. I had a 5% play on the over in the Edmonton game. Goalposts got in the way, didn't get there. It was the wrong call, still upset about it. And I had the over in Indiana first half, and they missed by 4 points. It was one of the first real bad days in a while. So I'm in a revenge mode situation. Didn't sleep much last night, didn't take it well at all, but this stuff does happen. Steve, what's your big game breakdown?
Going to look at a little baseball, late night, Friday night baseball. We're going to look at Yankees-Padres, an interleague matchup. Also going to have a little What's Bettors Learn. 6-year anniversary this month on a very important moment, probably the most important moment in the history of sports betting happened 6 years ago this month. And we're going to recap that also in a bit.
Okay, there we go. Lots to talk about. Andy Lang right off the bat. My brother, Andy. You are co-hosting with me on Memorial Monday. Dan, is there a show on Memorial Monday? It's up to you guys, bro. You're the ones that have to work. I'm good sleeping. So let me know. Yeah, no, let's talk about it on air. Just me and you in my ear. Andy Lang, Rupert Gobert. You've got a prop bet for us on him.
Let's take a riveting show when we talk to the producer who's not live for the audience. Riveting content.
Riveting.
So hit that like button.
That's what I
hit
say.
that like button. So yeah, let's talk a little Rudy Gobert. This number, I put it out as a free play, and I was really upset I didn't play it officially for clients in the first game. They had this at 27.5, and he was so far off of it that they lowered it to 26.5 points, rebounds, and assists. And I still think this is worthy of a play. This is such a huge number. He's actually gone under in 7 out of 8 games in the playoffs. 7 out of his last 8 games. He only had 20 points, rebounds, and assists in game 1. The rebounds were spread out over a lot of players on both teams, so he didn't have one of those huge 16 rebound games. And fact is, he's averaging 10 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 assists per game in these playoffs. So his average is well below this 26.5. And last series, we talk about some of these. It's kind of interesting. When looking back at the NBA season, you could really look at some of these under the radar trades that really had a big impact on his team. Daniel Gafford trade to Dallas is really proven to be a big deal. Last series, Dallas held Chet Holmgren to 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. So their defense has been fantastic, even with the bigs, who, Chet Holmgren, Rudy Gobert, these really big guys. This defense of Dallas has held up. I don't see a big game for Rudy Gobert. He doesn't attempt that many shots per game. We've seen him. He can be pretty clumsy around the rim. It's just a huge number, and I like what I've seen from Dallas defensively. I'll keep riding Rudy Gobert on the under in this category.
Yeah, Andy, it's an excellent point about the trade. I've talked about this a lot in my daily NBA videos. I've got my Game 2 breakdown for this game right on YouTube here on WagerTalk TV, so check that out after the show. And mentioned in Game 1, talked about it again here. Yeah, that February 8th trade wasn't just Gafford. Don't forget, P.J. Washington also came over, and those are 2 guys that have been huge. And I know Washington's been scoring, but they've also been much better defensively with him on the court. It's an excellent point. Mavericks finished 21-9 after the trade. If you took out those 2 regular season games that were kind of meaningless, they were 21-7, and they're now, 9-4 in the postseason. So, yeah, really under the radar trade for both Gafford and Washington. Along those lines, I want to ask you, though, about this game in general. First of all, what jumped out to me was that Minnesota took 49 three-pointers versus 25 for Dallas. They made 12 more than Dallas, 36 points more from 3, and they still lost game 1. Anthony Edwards took almost all of his shots from 3. I mean, do you have any opinion on Edwards? He looked really tired in the 4th. Obviously, they were coming off a game 7 in altitude, but just your handicap in general. I mean, when you see a box score like that, how does that affect how you look at the props when a team was just chucking it up from 3 like that?
Well, we always like to, the phrase, the trend is your friend. And, as a props bettor, I like to ride a lot of the same props. I think you're going to see Minnesota make quite a few adjustments. The first adjustment is going to be Anthony Edwards has to get to the rim. You mentioned taking that many threes, and they made a bunch, but that's not really their style. They need Anthony Edwards to really get inside and wreak havoc around the rim. I also think I listened to a podcast and it was great, and they talked about how it's so mind-blowing how fast Kyrie Irving is when you haven't really seen him before or haven't seen him in a while. And they highlighted several plays where Kyrie just got around the primary defender and opened up some big things. And they were talking about how Minnesota is probably going to be able to make some adjustments in there. Kyrie and Luka, I don't think that's sustainable. Maybe it is. Maybe it's sustainable for them to take, what was it, 49 of their 87 shots. They scored 63 of their 108 points. Listen, hey, if they do that every game, hey, series is over. Dallas is going to win. I think we see Minnesota make the necessary adjustments. They've got the athleticism. They've got the talent. It was a great win for Dallas, but I see adjustments coming, and I'm not sure where the props are going to change. But I just don't see a whole lot of the props in this series kind of going game to game. But I do believe in Rudy Gobert's unders here, as he's just not involved in the points to really get over this big total.
Andy Lang joining us, everyone, the best prop bettor on the planet. Randy Post writes in the chat room. Randy, thanks for joining us, man. He writes, loved the Prez Yankee under yesterday. Marco won both his picks and Teddy's big game breakdown. He obviously did a 14 parlay, cashed $1,200. Boom. Randy, that makes me so happy. Even in my time of depression after last night's 2 losses for my clients, you put a smile on my face. Thank you for that. Welcome, everybody. Andrew FB Lord Farquad. That is a name. Brian S. Titans, and of course, like always, Sean Alvarez joining us every day. Andy, let's turn our attention to Peyton Manning's son, Matt. He's pitching tonight. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Where are we going in this bet?
Yeah, Manning, we're going to take him over 2.5 earned runs. He pitched 5.2 innings of shutout baseball against the Mets in the first game of the season, and then it's been all downhill from there. 23 innings since then. He's given up 41 hits and 15 earned runs. Gone over this total in the last 4 games. And this is a Blue Jays team. Prez, you know this. Their lineup can be absolutely infuriating at times. All the talent in the world, and then they struggle to put up runs. However, looks like they're starting to come alive. They've got a little hot streak going. They've scored 33 runs in their last 5 games, 9 runs in 2 straight games. And what I really love is they've gotten over 3 earned runs to the opposing starting pitcher in 6 out of 7 games. So they're doing really well in the early innings to these starting pitchers. So we get a pitcher that's really struggling. You get a Blue Jays team whose bats seem to be coming alive. I think it's a nice recipe for over 2.5 earned runs.
Yeah, this is Matt Manning, who was actually the 9th overall draft pick in 2016. He hasn't really progressed, obviously, like they were hoping as being a first-round pick 8 years ago, basically. Andy, I want to touch on something you just said, though, because I use offensive momentum a lot in my handicap, and I think it's a very underrated factor in baseball. If you look at these teams that go on the ebbs and flows, the hot and cold streaks, it usually coincides with offense because those are the guys that are playing consistently every day. What's just kind of a starting point for people to look at? I mean, do you look at last 5, last 10? You just kind of eyeball it? I mean, how do you use offensive momentum when you're looking at maybe pitcher props to fade or play?
With pitchers, I look at fading these pitchers that are getting blown up and taking the over earned runs. You'll see the market put these numbers at like 1.5 earned runs, 2.5 earned runs, and I see some guys with 3.5 earned runs. I really like this 2.5 earned runs on these pitchers that are really struggling. And when you look at the offense, listen, baseball is like the longest season ever of any sport. It feels like it takes 3 years to get one season done. So you kind of have to break it down into smaller segments. Like if a team is just red hot from behind the plate and batting for like 2 weeks, that's unsustainable. It's such a long season. So you might start to look at fading them a little bit or maybe laying off. But when I look at the Blue Jays, this is kind of like a 5 or 6 game sample when they were really frustrating to start the year. So it feels like a small enough sample size that I can catch them on a little bit of a hot streak here, ride them for a few games, and then get off when they start to cool off again. So, and you're right, it's riding these streaks, it's finding the ups and downs, and be ready for when regression hits. If a team is too hot or too cold, you know that the other side is getting ready to come. So I like to use maybe a 5 to 7 game sample size as my streaks before I start getting off around the 10 game, 12 game mark.
Andy frickin' Lang. Los Pablo wants a shout out. Los Pablo! Andy, you've got both NHL and NBA going tonight. You're on an 86 and 52 run in both those sports. You got one of each. What's happening?
Yeah, we just made one pack tonight. We got one NHL best bet, one NBA best bet. So I put them together in one pack. You get 2 best bets, one price. And both sports have been fantastic this year. Like I said, I just combined the records, and it's over 59%, close to 60% on both. We're profitable in both of them. So really looking forward to that. And then under the radar, we talk about this every time a tennis major pops up. All of a sudden, it's here. The French Open starts. This is one of our bread and butter pieces for clients. Number one, the last 365 days. I believe number one lifetime since we joined here. There are 1 million plays that have just started to come out because of the first couple rounds. So we'll have a French Open pack that will be out probably Saturday, and that tournament starts on Sunday. So you get the pack and you get all plays. Just be ready. We hit it hard and heavy for the first couple of rounds, and then we slow off as the amount of players kind of gets dwindled down. All the value is in the first couple rounds. So anytime a tennis major comes up, we're just licking our chops because we're ready for some really nice profits. So look out for that on Saturday. But for tonight, let's cash the NHL and NBA 2 packs or 2 plays in 1 pack. Andy Lang, WagerTalk.com.
Andy, you're hanging with us, bro. Gianni's having technical issues, and we've got questions that only you can answer. Before we get into that, I want to give Carmine Bianco a lot of love. So I was with Carmine last night at a poker game. I don't think I played one hand, and I got annihilated last night. Poker was not good. Bitcoin dropped. I had to have dinner with my parents. I shot at 95. I lost my 5%. I lost my 3%. But Carm won his 5% in overtime on the Oilers. I got a woohoo from him at around 1 a.m. Way to go, Carmine Bianco. So, Andy, just to continue, honestly, Andrew Wojcicki, I mean, it doesn't get much better than this guy. Every single day without fail, he is in the chat room, and he is talking, giving out picks, seems to be a very savvy bettor. And tonight he likes Hardaway Jr. under 3.5 or 4.5 points. Do you have any opinion on that?
Yeah, Hardaway is a guy, me personally, I'm going to stay away from. It's such a low number, and I don't know what to expect from him. I expect both teams to be making adjustments here. So Hardaway is a guy I would stay away from. We talked about some of these streaks that are like kind of a little bit unsustainable. Daniel Gafford is one that he's gone over his point total 9 games in a row, and I suspect we get a little bit of regression coming. Hardaway, I can't get a feel for, and I don't really know what his role is going to be in this series. If you got a good feel for it and you like him, I mean, probably his last game, he was 0 for. I don't think he had any points, so maybe it's a good time.
Attempts, Andy. He didn't even take a shot attempt last game. And, my feeling on that too, Andy, is that if you win as an underdog, they're not the team that's going to make the changes, right? So I would say more likely than not, he's not going to be involved again. But then again, he scored 2, 5, 6, and 8 in the previous 4 playoff games. So I'd play under, but there's not a lot of wiggle room, like you said, if something changes.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
you're attempting you're attempting to really predict something that the team is going to make a big adjustment for. And to me, that's a little bit tough to do. So Hardaway is kind of a stay away for me in that one.
We have another prop bet question for you guys. Austin Snow, another wonderful loyal listener, writes, Prez, can you ask Andy how much a rebound should be worth? Love Connolly over 2.5 at -160, but should I take over 3.5 at +115 instead?
No, always take the lower number. I played Conley every time they put him out at 2.5. If you find 2.5, it's an automatic play. If it's a 3.5, you absolutely lay off. The streaks speak for themselves here with his rebounds. If this number is indeed 2.5, then that means he's gone over in 9 out of 10 games. You bump it up to 3.5. That means he's 3-3 in the last 6. That number is absolutely worth paying the juice. You take the 2.5 instead of the 3.5. I looked at him. I tried to find 2.5. I couldn't put it out as a client play, but 3.5 is a stay away for me.
Yeah, and Andy, I'll point out not all rebounds are worth the same, right? When a guy is averaging 3 on the season, the difference between 2.5 and 3.5 is like 30-40% right there. As opposed to somebody that's getting like 12 or 15 rebounds a game. So obviously you have to look at every case individually. Talking some NBA playoff props with the prop master, Andy Lang. Don't forget, he also covers UFC and NHL. Andy, anything jump out to you on the NHL hockey card tonight on Friday?
Yeah, Prez, have you noticed Zibanejad is not shooting the puck that much for the Rangers recently? He's gone on a complete under streak at 2.5. And this is a Florida team that is fantastic at preventing shots on goal. So Zibanejad's gone under in 8 out of 9 games, and the books are still giving us -120, -125. This has been a cash cow, and you normally don't think of under shots on goal, but he went under against Carolina. That's another elite team preventing shots on goal. And now he's facing Florida, another top 3 team in not allowing shots on goal. So I would just keep writing Zibanejad under 2.5 shots on goal. It's one of those hidden gems that keeps cashing every game.
Yeah, Andy, you started that by saying, have you noticed Zibanejad isn't shooting the puck much? It seems to me that all teams are not shooting the puck much this NHL playoffs. I've never seen such low scoring, such low shot counts in my life. So I think you're good to take everybody across the board under in shots. It's just super strange. Steve, we are going to do your what did bettors learn and whatnot in a few minutes. Just want to make mention Carmine, because I didn't give him an initial shout out. He writes in the chat room, Prez hates Italians. So I'm in the pool in Vegas talking to this Chinese guy. Well, at least according to him. And I'm like, where are you born? He's like, oh, I'm Chinese. I'm like, I didn't ask you that question. I asked where you were born. He said he was born in California. Why is it that people who are born in America or Canada claim to be something else? Carmine is not Italian. He is Canadian. That Asian man in the pool is not Chinese. He is American. I have met Irish people who are 7th generation Canadians that still claim to be Irish. Steve, can you enlighten me on this concept?
Andy, luckily you were a witness. Wasn't 1 minute before showtime Prez claiming not to be a Canadian when I said he was a white Canadian? So
I'm not born in Canada. I wasn't born in Canada. So
what do you tell people you are? What do you tell people you are?
I was not born in Canada. I was born in South Africa. What does your
passport say? What does your passport say?
I'm a Canadian citizen.
I rest my case.
But my children are first-generation Canadians. They are not South Africans.
All I know is South
I
Africa wouldn't
don't
let you stay there 12 months a year without returning to
understand.
Canada. Case closed.
Carm was raised in Italy, my tochus. Andy, what else? We good?
We can do. You want to do a quick little UFC look ahead? We got a big event coming up. You
Go
can get
ahead,
some
and
early
then we'll
lines
go
on
to,
this
We
one.
might not get Gianni, Andy, so let's talk a little UFC
Oh, no,
here,
no.
just in case.
Gianni, we're not getting Gianni. There is no Gianni on the show. Oh, and also, Andy, there is a Memorial Day Monday show. You and I will be hosting it. So there we go. Okay, sorry. Andy,
You're
UFC
good.
look ahead.
Yeah, last time we talked about this, I gave out a 3-1 underdog to hit in Vanessa Demopoulos, and there's another line that I don't understand. Jocelyn Edwards plus 170. She's going up against Eileen Perez minus 205. I love Eileen Perez. Just say inside and outside the octagon. Eileen Perez is fantastic. She actually has an OnlyFans page. But Jocelyn Edwards lost her last fight, and if you go back and watch that fight, I think
Did
she
I
won
hear
it.
OnlyFans page?
Yeah. Eileen Perez has it. This is an OnlyFans theory. This goes into the
Dan, can we see a picture
faith-
of Eileen Perez, please? Man, am I a pervert.
Yeah. She's got tons of pictures up there that are suitable for WagerTalk Today. This kind of goes into the fade the baby theory and the OnlyFans theory. So Jocelyn Edwards is going to be taller, her striking is going to be better, and Eileen Perez is primarily a grappler and likes to get this fight on the ground. And if she doesn't, she's going to get pieced up on the feet. And I think Jocelyn Edwards is going to be ready for this takedown offense from Perez. I don't think Perez is going to get it on the ground. I like Jocelyn Edwards to win this one. You can take that fight to go the distance. You got Nico Price at 2-1 over Alex Morano. Alex Morano should never be a minus 240 favorite. He just barely beat Court McGee, who promptly retired after the fight. Court McGee is like been there, done that, a million years past his prime. Morano barely beat him, so I don't understand why Nico Price is an underdog. And the big fight is Makhachev versus Poirier. Makhachev is minus 575 already. If you're going to get him in your parlays, you have to do it now. That's the only way to play it. You could take Makhachev inside the distance when those come out. And then Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa is going to be one of the most entertaining fights to monitor of Fight Week. To me, the fight absolutely stinks. I kind of like Paulo Costa plus 180. This has a complete circus written all over it. These guys are strikers. Strickland, I think, hit his peak when he beat Israel Adesanya. I think he might be on the downside.
Yeah.
I kind of like Costa plus money. So those are some UFC look-aheads for you.
Welcome to the Andy Lang Show, everybody. Andy, Natural 8, another one of our real loyal listeners, he wants to know, is there a OnlyFans angle that we should know about?
Yeah, so the OnlyFans angle primarily has been you're looking at these female fighters when they're getting towards the end of their careers or when they've like lost 2 or 3 fights in a row and they know if they lose another one, they're getting cut from the UFC. So look for female fighters who have just recently started OnlyFans. It means they kind of got one foot out the door in the MMA world and they're looking towards the next phase of their career. This is something that has hit quite a few times over the years.
Best angler on the planet, Andy Lang, everybody. Andy, thanks for joining us. We'll see you Monday. Steve, Art is here. Let's get to your What Did Bettors Learn? And then we'll go to Art, DiCesare after that. What did Bettors learn last night?
Yeah, a couple quick things. First of all, this is Memorial Day weekend. We talk about Americans, Canadians, and whatnot, but this is what I think is the most important holiday of the year because it is to memorialize and in memory of everyone who gave their life fighting for the U.S. And, you know, we talk about sports, we talk about betting. We wouldn't be doing any of this right now without the military and people that sacrificed over the centuries here. So let's keep that in mind while we're grilling and cooking out or watching games. With that said, this past 2 weeks ago was May 14th, and that was actually 10 days ago. 6 years ago on May 14th, the Supreme Court overturned the ban on sports betting in every state other than Nevada. Technically, I believe it was also Montana, Oregon, and Delaware had provisions. But anyway, everything changed 6 years ago in 10 days, and it's been a very interesting ride since. I thought it'd be interesting to recap it here 6 years later. If you look at the overall handle over the last 6 years, New Jersey actually passed Nevada in 2021, and they're off to the races now. But they've had now $50 billion, almost $51 billion in handle. New York has only been online for a few years. They're already at 43 billion, Nevada at 40 billion. So Nevada's already third in the running there, and they've been passed by the two big states, New Jersey and New York. And of course, New Jersey's the one that made this happen. Chris Christie pushed this about a decade earlier and tried to legalize it in the state. The NFL, the NCAA, the NBA, they all overturned it, pushed it into the Supreme Court eventually. And of course, they all opposed it. And then the next day, the NBA and the NFL were on board, as they often are, the hypocrites they are. By the way, the reason I thought about this also is the NCAA, the five big conferences just settled $1 billion lawsuit yesterday, apparently, and it looks like athletes are going to start getting paid even more in the future. But anyway, it's been 6 years. It changed our industry, Prez. It changed the world of sports betting for the good, in my opinion, and it'll continue to climb. And what's interesting also, one of these charts I was looking at as far as the total handles, you look at taxes and hold. The top 10 states now, Nevada has the smallest hold percentage, which makes sense. They have a lot more professional, sharp bettors there. But their taxes are also much, much lower. If you look at that chart there, you'll see their hold is only 5.8% versus 8-9% in some states. But if you look at the taxes, 150 million versus 2 billion in New York. They just can't get it right. And Pennsylvania's down that list also with almost 600 million in taxes. So once again, Nevada doesn't have the hold, quite the handle, but they get it right with the taxes, and we'll see how this plays out the next 6 years. But 6 years ago this month, everything changed for the good, and a lot more states have sports betting now because of it. Back to you, Prez.
Wonderful stuff. Guys, if you like what you're hearing, you enjoyed our on-air improvised pivot with Andy Lang, take 2 seconds and hit that like button, please. It would be greatly appreciated. Steve, we're going to bring in Art DiCesare, and then we'll end the show with your big game breakdown. Art DiCesare joining us, and thank you for logging on early, my brother. How are you?
Always. What's up, fellas? Steve, what's going on? Prez, good to see you as always.
Yeah, and I appreciated you taking some time to text me happy birthday, Art. That stuff means a lot to me. Putting happy birthday up on my Facebook page, boo. It's when you text me personally that I appreciate it. I don't even respond to these people who just put it up in general areas. Anyway, Art, 4th Division Dutch soccer. That's what we're going to talk about. So there was a referee who ended up dancing, cheering, singing, and holding the trophy for the winning side. He is subsequently be banned for life. I don't know if you know the story. He red carded the other team 3 times in the game. It was 11 versus 8. All this team needed was a draw to win their league. They were down 1-0. He put 15 minutes of injury time on the clock and then proceeded to give the team that he cheered with a penalty shot with a minute to go in the game. How often does that shit happen?
Well, I have not heard that story, and you just said a couple of things I've never heard. 15 minutes of injury time is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard.
Right.
3 red cards is absurd. And then the guy basically carrying around the trophy and smiling at the end of the game. I'm going to have to look this story up, obviously, after I get off with you guys. I mean, that is just incredible stuff.
Yeah. But it's very rare, right? I mean, these people who sit there and like, this sports are fixed, blah, blah, blah. I mean, 4th Division soccer in Denmark. No,
you're right. It's going to be lower tier stuff. I know tennis has had a problem with some of the lower tier, some of the lower tier men's guys who are ranked 200, 300th in the world, and they're fixing matches, not in Wimbledon because they're not there. They're fixing some, third-rate tournament. So, they're fixing matches. You get things like that, but I always laugh when someone says, oh, well, that Monday night game was fixed. Yeah, the NFL's not fixed. You just lost your bet, and when you win next Monday night, you won't say it's fixed.
Yeah, Steve Merril, did you hear the story? Crazy story.
No, I did not hear it. But what jumps out to me is just beyond idiotic is why would you celebrate with the team when it's that blatant?
Yeah.
At least if you just walk off afterwards, you could be like, I saw penalties,
Dude,
I saw
That's
injuries.
what
he was
know,
holding.
but I mean, you're beyond degenerate to celebrate. It's almost like, I don't know. It's like you want to get caught. But Art, you actually answered a question I was going to ask you. I was going to say, do you worry about this in other sports? Because I've heard about tennis as well. And I would assume at the Westgate Superbook, you guys just aren't putting up lower level 400 ranked tennis matches, right?
No, definitely not. And listen, Steve, you get the once every 2 weeks, once a month, you get the U.S. Integrity emails, asking about things. Temple basketball had a bunch of stuff, late in the season where you were getting some inquiries about what's going on with this team. There was nothing there, but you do get that. That's what U.S. Integrity's for. And you're right. When it's lower level tennis, I mean, we have started to, and I've seen more and more of the tennis that we put up throughout the year. And obviously, we focus on the majors, French Open coming up. But yeah, these tennis matches that are being fixed, probably in the past, we weren't putting up those type of matches.
Yeah, well, it's very low tier tennis too. And, tennis and golf have that one issue, both sports together. Tennis, for instance, has a prize pool of 19% of the gross revenue gets divided up amongst the players. 19%. I think the NFL is 57%. These guys are broke. And that's where the hole in the system is. All right, let's turn our attention to some actionable information. Both you and I liked the Rangers going into this series. We thought there was a lot of value there. They lost the first game. I mean, ultimately it was 3-0, but it was 1-0 with 2 late goals. What do you like tonight in this game? And do you have any series thoughts with the Rangers down 1-0?
Yeah, Prez, listen, I'm going to stick to what I liked. I still like the Rangers, and I still like them for the series. You're right. That game looked, on the scoreboard, you saw 3-0, but it was 1-0. Rangers hit a couple of posts. They were real sloppy in the first period. And I think if Igor was, given some true serum, he would have said he would have saved that shot on Tkachuk. It was kind of a goal you don't see him give up. I mean, give Tkachuk credit. But, I mean, this basically, game 2 line is the same as game 1. You basically had to pick them. You're going to pay a little bit more in Florida, minus 108, whereas game 1 was minus 110. The under has seen the money, whereas game 1 was 5.5 under 120. Game 2 is 5.5 under 125. We could even get pushed to 130. I don't think we'll get to 5 yet because we're not ready to go 5 on games. And obviously, must win for the Rangers. They got to come out and play a lot better tonight. I still like them in the series. I had them in 7. I still believe they win in 7.
All right, let's turn our attention to the NBA playoffs. We've got game 2 tonight, Dallas, Minnesota. Of course, you've told us over the last few weeks that the Pacers were a little bit of a liability for you guys. So were you happy to obviously see them not win game 1, which they probably should have won, but now they're down 0-2. So any other liabilities in these series, or is that helping you guys now that the Pacers are probably on their way out?
Yeah, Steve, for sure. Our Pacer liability really was connected to the series with the Knicks, them beating the Knicks. Gotcha. So that actually happened. That was unfortunate for us. But, as far as, of course, they were going to be the longest shot on the board to win the championship. And actually them winning the NBA championship, not bad for us. Obviously, that doesn't look like that's going to happen. Out of the 4 teams remaining, Dallas is the worst for us. And obviously, Dallas took a 1-0 series lead against Minnesota. Still expect that to be a long series. Game 2, you see nothing but Timberwolves money. No shock. I think there was going to be a natural letdown for Minnesota game 1 after that hard-fought series, knocking off the champs in Denver. Minnesota opened 4.5. It's now 5.5. Total was 207, now 207.5. And this isn't a 2-0 type scenario, but it's a 1-0 type scenario where the first half, minus 3.5, minus 115. So a little bit of juice there on the first half, really having to pay to see Minnesota come out early. And then the series price is basically flipped. We opened Minnesota minus 150. It got as high as minus 190. Now you have Dallas favored in the series minus 150 after their game 1 win.
Oh, there's a nice middle if you took Minnesota in the to win the series at the beginning, or vice versa. Vice versa. You took Dallas. Now you take Minnesota. Oh, Art, I'm going golfing today again. What a tough life I lead. What a tough life. Yeah. So we got a baseball slate going today. A couple of questions. Firstly, what is Art DiCesare like? Secondly, what are you seeing out there as far as wise action? And also, the Philadelphia Phillies with their historic start. Are you seeing a lot of future bets on them?
Yeah, just take the Phillies off the top. You are, but if you're getting in now with them being 36-14, one of the best 50-game starts in the history of baseball, you've clearly missed the value. We know that. But
Yeah.
you still see people jump in, and that happens. You see a lot of people jump in with some of, their future things as far as, Bryce Harper to win MVP, Wheeler, Ranger Suarez, things of that nature. So you see people want to get involved in that. They're not going to lay the number now in the division because they're the favorites. Obviously, if they would have taken them beginning of the year, they were right behind Atlanta. But, the last couple of days we've seen sharp money, and it's because they were playing a decent team in the Rangers, and the price was high, plus 170, plus 180, plus 190. You saw money coming on the Rangers, and it didn't matter. Obviously, the Phillies have taken care of business. As far as sharp action tonight, Blue Jays on the overnight were minus 107, minus 108. You've seen that pushed up to over $1.20. Minus 122 with Manoah on the hill. He's been pretty good since he came back. That's at Detroit. Cubs at St. Louis overnight was minus 130. Now sitting over $1.50 at minus 152 with Shoto on the mound. Obviously, the Cardinals have kind of been up and down. Cubs have been a little up and down here lately, but obviously they got one of the best pitchers in baseball going. And all the public plays that are going to be in all the parlays today, a couple of big favorites. Astros against the A's and Diamondbacks against the Marlins. No shock there. I like my Yankees. I think them going on the road to San Diego. It's a tough turnaround, tough trip. But San Diego has not been that great. Obviously, they just suffered a big injury. And the Yankees' bats have just been hot. Those big hitters, in the middle of the lineup. Pitching's been great. Volpe's been great at the top of the lineup. Short price with the Yankees. I know it's a quick turnaround and they go across the country. But the Yankees are just too good right now.
All right, man, I'm going to do a big game breakdown on that coming up in a moment. I might just be agreeing with you. You will find out in about 5 minutes. I think it's a tough spot. San Diego returning home also. Jeff Michaels pointed this out. Road dogs, that first game back after extended road trips, home dogs off extended road trips do not fare well. That's another negative for the Padres. They've been much weaker at home this year as well. So we'll do big game breakdown on that in a moment. On the way out, though, follow Art, first of all, at ArtDice21, a great follow on X. By the way, it's officially X now. I keep calling it Twitter, but it's X. Elon had a poll out yesterday. Do you want us to make a phone, an X phone, he was asking. So they're all in on this X thing. But anyway, he's ArtDice21 on Twitter X. WNBA, we've been asking you about it the last couple of weeks. Is the handle still up? Standalone game tonight. Indiana's actually favored against the Sparks. Sparks have really fallen in recent years. But your thoughts on the WNBA? Are Caitlin props getting any action? Are they still bringing in a handle for you in the WNBA?
There's no doubt, Steve. And I don't want to say it's all Caitlin driven, but when she's on the board, or, obviously night standalone with her, but if it's a slate of 3 games, 4 games, and obviously the Fever are in there, you're going to see it. You're going to see the Caitlin Clark props get bet on. That's just the way it is. 2 of their next 3, they got the Aces in the middle. 2 of their next 3 are against the Sparks, who are, one of the worst teams in the league as well. Obviously, Indiana hasn't won yet. I think they're one of 2 teams who haven't. And they are a short favorite today. And it's funny, they've been bet against in all their games. It feels like the Fever open, 5-6 point dogs. And by the time the game's tipped, they're 7.5, 8, 8.5. So you don't see that today. But I expect the Fever to get a win here in one of their next 3, probably tonight. But yeah, the WNBA handle's been great, and it's good for us too because we know we're getting into a time where obviously NBA and NHL are going to end here soon, and then we're just running baseball, waiting for preseason football. It's going to be nice to have a little bump in handle with the WNBA.
But I look at it as it's going to be nice to finally have a bloody break. Anyway, this industry of ours, it never freaking ends. Guys, Carmine Bianco put up the article about the referee who celebrated with the team. It's in the chat section of this show. And surprisingly, he didn't even know about it. I told Carmine something in relation to soccer. Boom. Art DiCesare, what do you have to promote, my friend?
The Westgate guys, come down, check us out. We're basically dealing everything we can now for NFL. Win totals are up, playoffs are up, all the type of things you want to, feed your NFL appetite. It's right around the corner. I mean, we're basically in June here, and, in 2 months we'll have, the Hall of Fame game. We'll have everything. Week 1's up. Eventually we'll get all the games up. We like to do weeks 1 through 18. So we will eventually have that up. That's probably coming in the next couple of weeks. Also coming in the next couple of weeks, games of the year in college football and over-under win totals in college football as well. So continue to look for that. And obviously, any questions, you can reach out to me on X/Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can come into the book and ask for me as well. I'm always there to help.
Wonderful stuff. What a great show. We did lose Gianni. But Steve, I mean, there's very few guys who could do what Andy did. I mean, literally no preparation, stayed with us for an extra 15 minutes, absolutely nailed it. I love hosting these shows with you. It's always a pleasure. Just like yesterday, however, I'm going to run. I'm golfing again. I'm going to hand the mic to you. You're going to do your big game breakdown. Then you're going to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you, my friend.
I might talk about you for a while afterwards.
You know what, Steve? Steve, talk till 3 p.m. I don't care.
South African Canadian. I'll say what I want. Woo!
Yeah!
Right,
later,
buddy.
everyone. Have yourself a wonderful, wonderful, amazing weekend. And as Steve said, think about those troops who fought for us and everybody else. We, the Canadians, fight alongside you guys. We will see you on Monday's show. Steve, the microphone is all yours.
That's right. There will be a Memorial Day show Monday. Andy Lang and the Prez. And then I believe next Friday, Andy Lang and myself will be hosting a week from now. So we get to talk to Arthur DiCesare once again. And we're going to do a little big game breakdown here on the way out. Let's look at a Major League Baseball game for Friday night. It's one of your late games at 9:40 Eastern. Yankees, Padres. Now, I lean Yankees in this game, but I do want to say big picture. I think there will be some value with the Padres. And Dan Alexander and I talked about this earlier this week on the baseball show. If you look at San Diego's road numbers, they've actually been one of the better offensive teams in the league this year. So I do think there's some upside. And they're coming off a decent road trip recently against Atlanta and Cincinnati, in which they had double-digit hits now in 5 of their last 7 games. But tonight is not a good spot for San Diego, and we will fade them, and we'll lay the short number minus $1.15 with the New York Yankees. And there's a couple reasons why. First of all, coming back home off the East Coast trip is difficult, and home dogs, Jeff Michaels, son of Ralph, pointed this out last year when we were doing a baseball show, that just blindly playing against home dogs off extended road trips has been a moneymaker. And I also point this out a lot of the Friday baseball shows, that road favorites do very well on Friday and in game 1 in general. So the Yankees check a lot of boxes here for a good situational play. I also like the pitching matchup. Darvish and Rodon both have been good recently, but we got lefty versus righty, and there's been a huge drop-off for San Diego this year offensively. On-base plus slugging, probably the best overall metric you can use for offensive production. San Diego's the 5th best OPS team in baseball this year against righties. They're 25th against lefties. Meanwhile, the Yankees, 17th against lefties, but number 1 in the league overall and number 1 against right-handers. That's where they've done their damage. So we get a favorable pitching matchup here. Righty-lefty favors the Yankees. Road favorite, game 1 Friday. San Diego coming off the extended road trip. I think there will be spots to play San Diego in the near future, but tonight we'll look to fade them. If you play this late game at 9:40 Eastern, I would lay the short number with the New York Yankees minus $1.15. Couple quick reminders. I do an NBA video every game of the playoffs, and I continue to do so. Game 2, Mavericks, Timberwolves, deep dive, full analysis, side, total, player props is on the channel right now. So be sure you hit subscribe and hit the bell for instant alerts so you know when it goes up every morning. Game 3, Pacers, Celtics will be up tomorrow, Saturday. Then we'll have Sunday and Monday videos as well. Yes, it's Memorial Day weekend. Yes, we remember the troops that gave the ultimate sacrifice, but we're working for you here on WagerTalk TV as well. But what seriousness, once again, while you're enjoying the games this weekend, while you're making a bet, appreciate the freedoms that you have and appreciate those that have served and sacrificed along the way for centuries to make this country great, Canada included. And if you're finding this useful, comment below. We read all the comments and we reply back. Thumbs up, like as well. And if you'd like to get my official best bets for Friday night, check out Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, along with that daily free play. Free plays have been hitting over 70% the past week. It's a game that's just a bit outside from making the cut, and I put it up every day free for people on my page. A great way to build your bankroll. And you also might want to check out getting tonight's best bets for free. In fact, the rest of May for free when you sign up for June. Once again, by June, you get the rest of May for free, including my strong best bets tonight. And I do have one tonight in the NBA. Number one all-time units one in the NBA at WagerTalk.com. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. Get there quicker, wt.buzz/SM. You can also follow me on Twitter and X at Steve Merril, 2 R's, 1 L, at Steve Merril on Twitter and X. That will do it for Wager Talk today on Friday. Thanks to the prop master, Andy Lang. Thanks to Arthur DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook in Las Vegas. And thank you to our host, the Prez, who is on his way to golf as we speak. Monday, Memorial Day, Andy Lang and the Prez will be back here at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, every Monday through Friday. Don't forget baseball first pitch with the mighty Dan Alexander. Dan the man, the great Alexander at 2 p.m. Eastern, and also NBA Tip-Off Live, 4:15 Eastern. And those live shows are important because you can interact with live chats, whether you're watching on YouTube, YouTube Shorts, or if you're binge drinking with those on the Instagram feed. Your questions are welcome as long as we can decipher them. Joe Ranieri loves it, so keep it coming. Once again, baseball at 2, NBA at 4, and my NBA Daily videos online right now. Thanks for watching. Best of luck. Happy Memorial Day. We'll talk to you again soon here on Wager Talk TV.